Have you ever dreamed of flying, of soaring through the clouds, leaving all your troubles behind on the ground below? It's a universal human desire, a symbol of ultimate freedom. But what if that dream turned into a nightmare? What if the very thing that gave you wings was also the cause of your downfall? Today, we journey back to ancient Greece, to a world of gods, monsters, and incredible inventions to uncover one of its most tragic and cautionary tales, the myth of Icarus and Daedalus. This isn't just a story about flying too close to the sun, it's a story about ambition, the bond between a father and son, and the razor-thin line between genius and hubris. So buckle up, because we're about to take flight on an epic journey that has echoed through the ages. Our story begins not with wings, but within walls. Walls so complex, so ingeniously designed, that they formed an inescapable prison, the Labyrinth of Crete. And the mind behind this architectural marvel? Daedalus. There was no artisan, no inventor, no craftsman in all of Greece who could match his skill. He could build statues that seemed to breathe and create devices that defied the laws of nature. His fame was legendary, but it came at a price. The powerful King Minos of Crete had commissioned Daedalus to build the labyrinth to imprison the fearsome Minotaur, a monstrous creature with the body of a man and the head of a bull. Daedalus succeeded, creating a maze so perfect that even he, its creator, could barely navigate it. But his genius became his cage. Fearing that the secrets of the labyrinth would be revealed, King Minos imprisoned Daedalus and his young son Icarus within a high tower overlooking the very maze he had built. Daedalus, the man who could solve any puzzle, now faced the greatest challenge of his life, escaping the inescapable island of Crete. He was surrounded by land guarded by Minos' soldiers and by sea patrolled by Minos' fleet. Day after day, he stared out from his tower prison, watching the gulls and eagles circle effortlessly in the sky. He saw their freedom, their mastery of the wind, and an idea, a brilliant, audacious idea, began to form in his mind. Minos may control the land and the sea, he thought, but he does not control the air. And so the master inventor set to work on his most ambitious project yet. He would conquer the sky, he would build wings, for himself and for his son, Icarus. He gathered every feather he could find, feathers dropped by seagulls on the tower ramparts, feathers from birds that had met their end near his prison. He arranged them meticulously, sorting them by size, the smallest first, followed by the larger ones, creating a gentle, sloping curve just like a bird's wing. He bound the middle of the feathers together with strong linen thread and fused the bases with beeswax, molding and shaping the wax with his skilled hands. He worked in secret, under the watchful but unknowing eyes of his son, Icarus. The boy would often play nearby, chasing the feathers as they drifted on the breeze, or softening the wax with his thumb, unaware that these simple toys were the components of their salvation. He watched his father with wide-eyed admiration, seeing not a prisoner, but a magician creating something from nothing. Finally, the day came. 2 pairs of magnificent wings lay complete. Daedalus fastened one pair to his own shoulders, and with a few tentative flaps, he rose into the air, hovering like a giant, magnificent bird. Icarus laughed with delight, witnessing the impossible. Now it was his turn. Daedalus carefully fitted the smaller pair of wings onto his son's back, his hands trembling slightly as he did so. He looked into Icarus's young, eager eyes and gave him a final, solemn warning. "My son," he said, his voice a mixture of hope and fear. "Listen to my words. Fly a middle course. Do not fly too low, for the damp from the sea will weigh down your wings and drag you into the waves. But do not fly too high, for the heat of the sun will melt the wax that holds your feathers, and you will fall." He repeated the instruction, "Stay close to me, follow my path, and you will be safe." Daedalus hugged his son, his cheeks wet with tears, a father's premonition of what was to come. He kissed Icarus, a kiss he would never be able to give again, and then, leading the way, he leapt into the air. Icarus, filled with exhilaration, followed close behind. They actually flew. Below them, fishermen stopped and stared. Shepherds leaned on their staffs and gazed upward in disbelief, thinking they were witnessing God soaring through the heavens. The island of Crete, their prison, grew smaller and smaller until it was just a speck on the horizon. They had done it. They were free. The wind rushed past them. The sky was a brilliant, endless blue, and the feeling was pure, unadulterated joy. For Icarus, this was the greatest moment of his life. But with this newfound freedom came a dangerous temptation. The thrill of flight was intoxicating. Icarus began to feel a bold confidence surge through him. He forgot his father's warnings. He was no longer just following, he was flying. He swooped and soared, testing the limits of his new wings. He felt powerful, invincible, like a young god of the sky. The middle path his father had commanded seemed boring, mundane. He wanted more. He wanted to climb higher, to touch the sun, to truly conquer the sky. Ignoring the desperate cries of Daedalus from below, Icarus angled his wings upward and began his ascent, climbing higher and higher, drawn by the allure of the heavens. He was a boy reaching for the ultimate prize, blinded by the sheer joy and arrogance of his youth. The sun, a golden chariot in the sky, welcomed him. The air grew warmer, the light grew brighter. For a glorious moment, Icarus felt he had transcended his mortal limits. He was closer to the sun than any man had ever been. But then he smelled it, the faint, sweet scent of melting wax. A dreadful realization began to dawn. The sun's heat, which had felt so wonderfully warm, was now his enemy. The wax that held his wings together softened, loosened, and began to drip away. He felt a feather slip, then another. He flapped his arms frantically, but the wings were disintegrating. They were no longer the marvels of engineering his father had made, but a useless, chaotic mess of feathers. His ascent stopped. His flight turned into a fall. He looked down and saw the vast, indifferent sea rushing up to meet him. He screamed his father's name, "Father! Father!" But it was too late. Daedalus, now a helpless spectator, heard the cries. He looked up just in time to see his son plummeting from the sky. He called back, "Icarus! Icarus! Where are you?" But there was no answer. He frantically scanned the sky, then the sea below. And then he saw them. Feathers floating on the surface of the waves. The only trace left of his beloved son. The greatest inventor in the world, the man who had cheated a king and conquered the sky, could not save his own child. He flew down, his heart shattered, and circled the spot where Icarus had fallen, until he found his son's body washed ashore on a nearby island. He cursed his own genius, his own brilliant art that had led to this tragedy. He buried his son on that lonely island which forever after would bear his name, Icaria. And then Daedalus, the heartbroken father, continued his flight alone, the weight of his grief heavier than any wings. So, what are we to make of this ancient tragedy? The story of Icarus and Daedalus has been interpreted for centuries, and its meaning is as layered as the wings Daedalus built. On the surface, it's a simple cautionary tale about the importance of listening to your elders. A lesson in obedience. Icarus was warned, he disobeyed, and he paid the ultimate price. It's a classic example of youthful hubris, of arrogance leading to a downfall. Icarus, drunk on the freedom of flight, believed he could defy the fundamental laws of nature and the wisdom of his father. His fall is a stark reminder that our ambitions must be tempered with caution and respect for our limitations. Don't fly too close to the sun. We've all heard the phrase, and it comes directly from this powerful myth, warning us against reckless ambition. But there's a deeper, more complex layer to this story. It's not just about Icarus's recklessness, but also about Daedalus's ambition. Was it truly wise to create such a dangerous gift for a young boy? Some interpretations see the myth as a critique of unchecked technological advancement. Daedalus, the brilliant creator, unleashed a power that his son was not mature enough to handle. It's a story about the responsibility of the creator for their creation. The wings represent a powerful technology, a gift of freedom that also carries the seed of destruction. Daedalus gave his son the means to fly, but he couldn't give him the wisdom to fly safely. The tragedy is shared. Icarus fell because of his youthful arrogance, but Daedalus is left to live with the consequences of his own genius. He is the father who, in trying to save his son, ultimately led him to his demise. In the end, the myth of Icarus is a timeless and profound story about the human condition. It's about the tension between freedom and restraint, ambition and humility, wisdom and youthful passion. We are all, in some way, Icarus. We all have dreams that tempt us to fly high, to push the boundaries and reach for the sun. And we all have a Daedalus in our lives, a parent, a mentor, a voice of reason, warning us to find the middle path. The story doesn't condemn ambition, but it asks us to be mindful of its dangers. It reminds us that true freedom isn't about flying as high as you can. It's about knowing how to navigate the space between the sun and the sea. It's a story that has inspired countless artists, poets, and thinkers, and it continues to resonate with us today because we all face our own suns to fly towards and our own seas to fall into. Thank you so much for journeying with us through this incredible myth. If you enjoyed this story and want to explore more tales from the ancient world, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. We'll see you in the next one.